What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. Solar Effective Shadi from the R&B Talk Show. And this gentleman right here is Len Gonzales, and he's known as a cyber guy. I'm going to let him introduce himself and what we came to talk about on this episode right here.
All right, Rashad, I appreciate you. First and foremost, I appreciate you. Thank you very much for inviting me on your show. Shout out goes to Miss V as well. I appreciate you, what you do. And yes, I'm Len Gonzales. I am a cyber investigator. I'm an author and a public speaker. Cyber investigator encompasses all those things online. When somebody gets in trouble, I'm the guy that people call to hopefully get out of trouble. I'm pretty successful in what I do. So a lot of people tend to get out of trouble based on calling my services and stuff, which I'm very proud of. But I'm also an author, right? And I write about online safety and security. I both write and speak about online safety and security. So that's what I do. I've got three arms to my company. I'm the owner of Ally Cyber Investigations, LLC. That's what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. What made you want to get into that, solving these cases and stuff when it comes to like people getting scammed over bank loans, deposits, it could be a house, it could be anything. So what inspired you want to get in that lane and stuff?
Well, actually, so my career, what I do right now, actually stems from when I was in the Navy. So I was in the Navy for 21 years as a cryptologist. And in doing that job is where I learned how to do research. And I did just tons and tons and tons of research for many years, right? Collecting intelligence, writing intelligence reports, and so on. And then I was pretty good at it. And when I got done with that, a few years later, I got a job working with the Naval Criminal Investigative Service, or NCIS, and I landed up in their cyber department as a cyber intelligence analyst. And in doing that, that's actually where what I do today kind of really started as a profession, because I worked in their cyber department, and I was at first working a lot of nation state kind of activity where you got nation state actors breaking into DoD and Department of Navy computer systems and things like that, networks and stealing data and whatnot. And it was I did that for about 9 years, more or less. And about the 3 year mark or so before I left, I started supporting the crim department in NCIS, doing online investigations. And the really cool thing about working with NCIS is everything that I did was self-taught, but they gave me the platform, the playground to hone my skills, right? So then when I got done working with them, I was like, you know what? I could do this for myself, for the average citizen, not the US government, and help people get out of trouble, help people get to a better place. Something that's affordable for everybody, right? Because I'm very affordable. Something that's affordable for everybody, but actually something that actually helps people, because there's a lot of services that are out there, cyber services included, that claim to help people, but all they do is take your money, and then they don't really provide a quality service in return, right? I'm that guy who really prides himself on integrity and quality of work and honesty and all those good things, all those good pillars that a company should be built with. I pride myself on actually implementing those pillars. So all of that is why I got into doing what I'm doing right now, just on a basic level, just to help people get to a better place.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's really hard to put trust in a lot of folks, because they tell you, it's like they sell you these false hopes and, when they can bring it to you, then so you think you get it there, you don't. And, you see stuff all the time. And I'm noticing too, because I remember like 10 years ago, my mother, and she was telling me, she said, ever since she got her insurance, she's through like State Farm. And it's like people call her left and right, about insurance, back to back, back to back. She said, what's going on? All you did, for once, and all these spam calls, what they call like spam risk, and it will call your phone back to back, back to back. And
Right, right.
and I'm noticing though too, like whenever you take a debit card or credit card and you buy something off a website, it could be Amazon or whatever you get, and out of nowhere, man, all these weirdos, man, start popping up out of nowhere. I mean, what causes that, and how come these website companies don't protect, their platforms when it comes to
Right.
like internet bugs and things like that?
Right. Well, you ask an interesting question, because Based on the last part of your question, you said, why don't websites protect that? Well, part of the problem is the website. There's a lot of data brokering that's happening. So when I get on Amazon, when I get on various websites, whatever it is, where entering private data, I'm entering my email address, my phone number, my address, and various contact pieces of contact information about me in order to create the account, in order to buy something online, in order to seek that service of the website that I'm going to. What ends up happening is the website themselves is collecting all that data, right? So they call it data brokering, where those websites actually sell, share, give, distribute that data to other people. Why? Because data is a commodity. Data is something that makes big money because data creates lists that other people can use to contact you, right? So
Wow.
data is a huge commodity online. That's why a lot of our tech giants today get into a lot of trouble because they share our data because they say we're not doing it, but they land up getting caught doing it, and that stuff makes the news. So a lot of that data brokering happens. There's a lot of websites. I won't name them here, but there's a lot of websites online where you can go and you can search for your name, you can search for your email address, your phone number, and you see everything about you. You see your family members' names, you see your address, you see your email addresses, your phone numbers, you see past addresses, your neighbors' names, you see all kinds of crazy stuff. All of that is because of data brokering.
Wow. That makes sense, especially with some, it's like you can fill application through like Indeed.com or whatever, website. Then out of nowhere, people just call you left and right. You're like, man, where, where is it coming from? Because I remember back in like 2020 during the pandemic, and this one lady right here in Louisville, Kentucky, she got the phone number from apartment complex, and everybody was calling her, cursing her out and stuff. And she was looking like, "Hey, y'all, I don't work for that company. This is my number and everything." And she needed it, and I'm like, "Wow, the true enough, we do got some slum landlords. They don't change their updates for anything. And some of them they get let go, and then they bring new people in, or they have to sell the place and stuff. Man, just it's crazy how those type of transactions, become a problem, because of that, and
Right. Absolutely.
yeah,
And,
and just
and
go ahead.
the thing about data on the internet too is, they say once you put something on the internet, it never goes away. That's true to a very large extent. You got to work at removing your own data, although you were never the one that put it on there to begin with. So you got to go through the steps of hiring somebody to help you remove data, or if you're smart enough, or take the interest enough to do it yourself. But it's learning. But you as the person who is victimized by all this craziness because of your data online, you're the one that has to remove it, right? You're the victim, but you're the one that has to go call the police because
Yeah,
you got victimized by whatever. In the real world, in cyber domain, it's kind of like the same thing. You're the one responsible for removing your own data.
yeah. It does make sense though because you look back at it, it's like you're a kid, you have people playing prank phone calls at the house. To all of a sudden, by the time AOL came in, the MySpace came in, that was a Kickstarter. Fast went all the way up social media. People creating fake pages on on social media, and people getting scammed and stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, like, why would you say like $175 to an individual that you don't even know at all? You
Right,
know,
right.
and talk about like like they could change your life. They're not changing nothing. They just change your bank account and they got it. you know?
Well, they're changing your life. There's no doubt about that. They're changing your life, just not for the good. Yeah, that all just there are so many scams.
Yeah,
The scams that happen right now are just so relentless. They come from all over the globe. These are heartless people that could care less about, as you say, your bank account, your health, your financial situation, your reputation, or anything else. And so it's mostly money driven. But again, we talk about data being a commodity, and so a lot of times what happens is these people are trying to just scam you out of your data, out of personal sensitive data that they can get because, again, they can sell, share, distribute, or otherwise give away to your data to other people who can use it. So yeah, these scams are absolutely relentless. But I got one piece of advice. And that is simply a scam is a scam is a scam. If it's unsolicited, if you received an unsolicited phone call, a text, an email regarding something that somebody else wants you to do, and you didn't ask for it, then get rid of it. Don't deal with it. As I tell people, ignore, block, delete. Then it didn't happen, right? It goes away. But a scam is a scam is a scam. And they're all built on one thing, and that's called fear. And if you relent to the fear, if you have a knee-jerk reaction to the fear, then chances are you're going to be victimized. But if you're vigilant and you understand that a scam is a scam is a scam, they're all the same. They're all built on this one thing, fear. And if that thing that you sent me makes me fearful and makes me want to react or knee-jerk react to that thing, then chances are it's a scam. And so you ignore, block, delete it, get rid of it, right? So yeah, it doesn't matter if it's the DMV, it doesn't matter if it's the post office, it doesn't matter if it's the IRS or the president himself. If you didn't ask for it and you get it, then chances are it's a scam, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, because I remember, I think it was like in 2016, and my cousin from Los Angeles, he called me. He said, "Hey, Rashad," he said, "Can you get a hold of our cousin?" He said, "I need to pay $5,000." I said, "5,000 for what?" He says, I forgot what it was, something that they said that he owed. And I said, "Dude, first of all, if you owe money, just like IRS, they'll write you a letter and say,
Right,
hey, you got so much time to pay this, or you can make arrangements or whatever." They don't call you and tell you how much they owe you. They
right,
write a
right.
letter. That's what they do and stuff. And no offense to my cousin, it's like the check engine light is on, but nobody's there to really, handle that situation.
No, nobody's driving the car. You're saying nobody's driving the car.
Exactly.
Hey, check
What
this out,
I'm saying?
man. Hey,
Like
check this out.
yeah, that's
So,
how his brain works. You go left, you go right, you go straight forward.
so check this out. One time, I had a client one time, and I caught the scam right smack dab in the middle of it. Where when
Well,
I got the call, they were saying, "Hey, my husband's grandfather is, as we speak, is giving PIN numbers for these gift cards to these people that are on the phone." And I asked for what are the circumstances? What's going on? They said, well, grandfather got a phone call. His grandfather's like 70 plus years old. He gets a phone call from Mexico, from law enforcement or attorneys in Mexico saying, hey, look, we can provide legal services to your client, to your grandson, if you pay us X amount of money. Well, grandfather's in the States. Nobody thinks about calling the grandson to figure out where he's at. And grandfather goes to Walmart or wherever local store, starts buying gift cards and starts giving that stuff away to these callers online. So he's giving them all the gift card numbers. And so that's when his other grandson, my client's husband, they figure something's wrong. She calls me, and my first word was stop. Everything you're doing, stop. And sure enough, it was all a scam. It's that typical, call and someone's in trouble. You need to help them out, pay for their service, pay for their bill, pay for their whatever, via gift card. So there's another piece of advice. Anybody that asks you to pay for any legal or legitimate service via a gift card, don't do it. It's a scam.
yeah, because I had this one lady claimed it said for Sacramento, California, and it was like in 2014. She said I owe 2,400 to the University of Sacramento. I said, yeah, right, lady, bye. You know, you know, and that's when I knew. I said, man, I would never pick that phone up ever again and stuff. And thank God I
Hey,
changed my phone number.
well, you remember what I did the first time you called me?
Yeah.
What did I
I,
do?
oh, dude, you was on it, dude.
I ignored
Because
you.
you hit me up because you was like, I know this ain't no spam call, so because I introduced myself because I always think that's important. I said, let me go ahead and text because I know how this goes and stuff. And you was getting ready to block it and stuff. And I get it though because of my name, it'll say like it would throw everything off and stuff. So and you were straight up, man, that text, man. And I was like, dang, man. I said, yeah, let me go ahead and introduce myself and break everything down, from yesterday. Because I get it. Because sometimes, with a message, it can start off like it's good and it sounds kind of suspicious
Right,
and
right.
stuff. And like when this one guy hit me up on Instagram, and he was like, what he say? He said he was an artist that was signed to Rick Ross, Jay-Z, or somebody else. And he said how much it costs for promotions. And I'm looking on his page. There's nothing about you that says that's a rapper. And I said, all right, here we go. I said, man, let me go ahead and block his fool, get him out of his misery and stuff. And it's sad how some folks, they think that you're gullible, they think that you will go for it, stuff like that.
Right.
And it's sad, to this day it still goes on like it. People just making fake pages, pretend to be you, and just doing stupid stuff. And you got like sometimes I get spam calls from some around Kentucky, like 270. That's Lexington, Kentucky's. No, that's Radcliffe, Kentucky's area code 859. I think that's LaGrange area code. And I'm like, who finds the time to take all these numbers and people's trying to get a new number? I'm like, how you do that? I don't get that, man.
Right. Yeah, they're machine generated or computer generated phone numbers, and there are so many online services that allow people to create blocks and blocks and blocks of numbers that they use to promote these scams. Right? They're pervasive. So what happens is that's why I also tell people don't block. If I call you one time and I'm a scammer, don't block me. There's no reason to, because I'm going to call you one time. It's a one and done. But if I call you 3 and 4 times a day, or 5 or 6 times a week, or several times a month on that same number, block it. But if I call you one time and you block me, then all you're doing is playing whack-a-mole, because they got blocks of numbers that they're calling from. So you're just going to land up with a laundry list of a full going back to the old days, a telephone book of blocked numbers in your phone, because all you're doing is playing whack-a-mole. So it's like it's a basic rule. If they're calling you pervasively, if they're calling you in succession, if they're calling you multiple times, then go ahead and block the number. Other than that, just leave them alone. But certainly don't ever pick up the phone and think you're going to do the aha, I got you scammer. Because you're the one that's going to land up losing. I guarantee you, they might not get you on that phone call, but I guarantee you they're going to call again, they're going to email again, they're going to text you again, because you think you're playing I got you with them. And so just leave them alone. It's not worth it.
Yeah, it's definitely not worth it, man. Because I remember my mother told me, she was like, yeah, some phone calls, like they got your whole, information right then and there. As soon as you answer it, no matter, they ain't got to say nothing half the time. And I thought about it, I was like, yeah, she's right about that. Because I'll be blocking them left and right, left and right. Because every time I get a spam risk, even if it don't say spam risk, a number pop out, I'll still block it. Because it's like you're not texting me to let me know who you are, and it is if I know you and stuff. So what's the point even, me trying to answer and say, hey, what's going on?
Right,
So
right, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You're best to just leave it alone. Any unknown numbers, again, those unsolicited communications, you're better off just leaving it alone. As we know, any grown-ups that have a legitimate message to send, and they got something legitimate to say, they're going to leave you a message. They're going to text you, for real. They're not just going to, and if they don't do that, then apparently it wasn't that important, right? So just leave it alone.
yeah, absolutely. I want to give big shouts to the PR, the publicist, V's Vintage. I see she dropping comments on here. Big shouts to you, Queen. And also big shouts to Tom G. He says Len is the man to call if you get trouble with all these swindlers out there. You can trust him 100%.
Thank you, much appreciated.
Yeah. And now I want to take it all the way back for you, as far as like when you was growing up. As a kid growing up, what did you want to do when you was like 5 or 6 years old? Like as far as like any dream goals as a kid?
The short answer is no. Hey, look, you're talking about a dude that grew up in the projects, man. I can't say that
Yeah.
back
Oh
then.
man.
You're just going day by day. There's not a whole lot of it's sad to say. It's not like people are talking about long term dreams and stuff like that. I think that it was actually really that when I got to high school, when I knew that I was going to go into the Navy, and I knew I was going to do this really cool thing that they were saying that I was going to work in an air conditioned space. I was going to work with computers. I was going to do this. I was going to have a high level clearance, and I was going to do all this really cool, interesting stuff. I was like, man, that's cool. That's what I want to be. So that's what I landed up doing. And it was at that point really when I realized that there was something way bigger going on than anything that I could get out of where I was physically at that moment. So it took me a lot of years actually to get right there. So I was already, I think I signed up when I was 17 is when I signed up to join the Navy. So it
Oh
that
wow.
many, yeah, I can't say that I had a whole lot of dreams, man, before that. I'm just being real.
Absolutely, and stuff. Hey man, I'm wrong with that. Cause like back then, they open your eyes up, you saw the world. Here it is, like you live your city all your life as a kid, and
Right.
to go in a different world. Like with your parents, kind of like nervous, or they was like, you know what, I believe you got this.
Right. So it was that typical mom dad thing, right? My dad was like, "Go." My mom was crying, and it was kind of like that type of situation, right? Because I came home with a recruiter from high school that day, and I remember to this day, my dad gladly signed to the bottom line, and my mom was nervous and kind of teary eyed about it and all that stuff, like in disbelief that that's actually what I was going to do. And so it was at that point, I think, when the reality set in. I signed in under a program called DEP, or Delayed Entry Program. So that gave me a whole year still in high school before I actually left. And so it was at that point where when I left, you talk about getting exposed to the world and stuff like that. I'm proud to say that the Navy offered me a completely different view of the globe because I was able to literally travel the world. And in that 21-year span, and even now, we try to get out of the states and go travel and see the world, even as little as we do now. But I was able to see the globe, man, for real.
Wow,
I was stationed overseas for 18 years before I got stationed where I'm at right now, and we stayed here. So yeah, we were able to see a whole lot of stuff. It was really cool, man, for real.
wow.
Yeah.
I tell you, it's rare for, especially for any kid, grow up in the projects and then to, get the opportunity to go somewhere where you outbeat the ones that, some kids they end up, wind up in drugs, or they get murdered and all kind of stuff. You look back like, wow, I'm one of the rares that actually made it, because anything could have happened if I would have fell for those type of resorts and stuff.
Right. No, I couldn't agree with you more. A lot of drugs growing up, a lot of that sort of environment growing up for sure. And I look back and I'm thankful. I'm thankful for being able to get out of that environment, go out, succeed, and do something different. I look back and I honestly I look at myself, and when good things happen to me, much like being on the Rashad Ali podcast, the R&B talk. When I look at stuff like that, dude, I sincerely I laugh. I chuckle, I laugh because it's cool. Because I know where I came from, how I grew up, and I don't consider myself to be anything special. I know I work hard and I help a lot of people out. And I just take pride in knowing that I can do my best to try to get other people to a better place. But I just keep it that simple. I don't, I just, I chuckle. I chuckle a lot at some of the successes that I've had, and hopefully the successes that will hopefully come my way in the future. I'm sure I'm just going to chuckle and say, man, this is some dude from the projects that just happened to land up in a good place, man. So, yeah, that's the
Absolutely.
way I look at it.
Yeah, I want to touch on public speaking. I remember you talked about this and stuff. With your line of business, what you're doing. Besides that part, how has public speaking been important to you to reach out to folks and give your voice, to the people that needs that balance in their life, and everything.
Right. Right. No, public speaking is, for me, that's where it's at. That is truly where my heart is at. Speaking to large groups and trying to get, we can help one person along the way every day or every now and then try to get to a better place. But when you can have a lot of people at your fingertips, at your, at the tip of your tongue, and they're listening to you, and everybody's attentive, and you're captivating them, you're capturing them with your words and your stories, and people are learning and they're getting to a better place, and they're like, wow, you can see the wow in their eyes. Man, that's everything to me, man. I love that. I love walking into a room, not knowing a single soul that's in there, and walking out with a bunch of friends because they all love what they just experienced. So I love public speaking. I love standing in front of people. I love the teaching aspect of it. I also love the learning aspect of it, because without clients, I wouldn't know as much as I do. I wouldn't learn as much as I learn, because my clientele gives me a new problem every day, right? Today I finished up an investigation that helped me get to a better place of understanding a little aspect of how Facebook works, right? So it's things like that that then I can convey in my next public speaking engagement to people that find themselves in similar situations. So public speaking to me is like really truly where my heart is at right now. That's what I want to elevate to, like a completely different level of being able to speak with lots of people all at the same time, preferably, so we can all get to a better place all at the same time. This onesie twosie stuff works, but it's not effective as
Yeah,
hitting large groups. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, absolutely. You know, because like you know, with some public speakers, you know, I see it, and some people invite me to say, "Oh man, you should come." And no offense to certain individuals, I'm like, "Nah, man, you know, like you're not speaking like my language, brother." You know, and, you know, like you just do it for popularity. You know what I'm saying? And nah, I don't think so. You know, and you know that's the thing too, because you know, a handful of communities definitely need that voice, you know, because each young man would be like, wow, you know, I know he, you know, went through this or experienced this, you know,
Yeah,
even women themselves, you know, they get a chance to adapt. And, you know, they think it till my time to come home, be like, dang, all this time, my mind was right here and it was right in front of my face, you know,
yes,
and God put me here, you know, for a reason.
right, right. Yeah, no, that's exactly it. The cyber world, the things that happen to people in the cyber world are their real lives, right? It's what happens to them in life. And so when you're scammed, in a romance scam, or somebody takes money from your bank account, or you get caught in a sextortion ring, or somebody's impersonating you online, or online defamation, or revenge pornography, or cyberbullying, or harassing, or all these numbers of things that happen to you, that's your real life. That's what's happening to people in real life. We see that stuff in the news all the time, right? Those are the things that I deal with, and many, many more things like that. So if I can convey to other people what happens to other people in real life, then I can help you learn from that, right? Because man, there is nothing worse than learning your own lessons in life the hard way, right? So if I can be placed in a position where I can help people learn before they make their own mistakes, then man, I would treasure that. I would cherish that, to be able to be put in a position where I can teach people, where I can show people and talk with people about how they can not find themselves in some certain aspect of trouble online when they do stuff, right? So yeah, that man, I would love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because it's crazy how, you know, with the cyberbullying, you know, you see it, you know, more suicides, you know,
Yeah,
happen like the last, I say like the last 16, 17 years back to back. And, you know, it's like they can't reach to you, but somehow, you know, they say words to get to a person insecurities, you know,
yeah,
and I say it's to, I blame the schools because they don't teach that, you know, at all. Because you know, like for me, growing up in the 80s and 90s, they used to have the St. the drugs that was at Dare, and you know, and like you see the cop come in and somebody just like a mascot, they would just sing the songs and stuff like that. And like you know how back in the day they had like on TV, they were like what they said, like stay home and stuff. And
right,
and I remember when Bill Clinton was in office, they was talking about what was it? Like they was about to have a curfew. I think for like you had to be like 18 and over just to stay out or something like that. But now it's like you got kids, man, 12, 13 years old, man, staying out for 4 or 5 in the morning. You know, it's
yes, sir.
crazy how society, you know, plays like that.
Right, absolutely. There are one of the saddest of so many cases that I've done, one of the saddest that really kind of hit home with me. So when I was in the Navy, I was a chief petty officer. By virtue of being a chief petty officer, if you're, I feel like if you're doing it right, then you should do your best to try to take care of people, right? And so what happens is, as a chief petty officer, E7 in the Navy, you tend to be a little older, right? So what happens is a lot of young people are under your supervisory ship, if you will. You're leading, you're managing a lot of young people. And the way I always looked at it was that um, I always try to keep the perspective that I always tried to keep their parents in mind, because I knew that their parents knew that they were in a distant place, that their kid was in a distant place, and wanted them to be safe. So I always adopted the idea that I was going to do my best by those parents and those kids, those young people, to try to help them along, right? Get them what they needed and all that. So with that, when I was working with NCIS, one of the worst cases, one of the really sad cases that I did was, now keep in mind, I'm working in Norfolk, Virginia, with NCIS, and this one kid is in Bahrain. So he's way overseas, right? Well, what happened was, the short of it is that he got caught in a revenge pornography
Wow.
scheme where he was talking with somebody via Facebook Messenger, and they exchanged pictures and videos and whatnot, right? And then the person demanded money, or else they were gonna release those photos or videos to friends and family, and whatnot.
Wow.
So obviously that wasn't a cool thing, right? So the young kid, he was a kid, man. He was like 22 years old, and he reported to NCIS and said, "Hey, look, here's what's going on. Here's the access to my Facebook page. Here's the Facebook page that's doing what they did and all that stuff." And then uh, I mean, it's sad to say, but then the kid committed suicide. So that he didn't even give the he didn't give anybody a chance to help him. He was so distraught and so caught up in what was going on that nobody was there to help him. He was so young and by himself. At least he felt like he was by himself, and that's what happens. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer or drag anybody down.
Yeah.
I'm going with the theme of what you're talking about when we say young people, and they need to learn, and they need somebody to teach them, and they need a safe place to go, and somebody to talk with them about these issues. And I've spoken with schools. I've spoken with a lot of students. I've spoken with teachers. I've spoken with people that were school resource officers and things like that. I've spoken with principals. Uh, so at varying levels of the school systems, to try to get that message out. But there's so many kids out there, you can't touch them all. Like I said, man, I got tons of cyber stories, tons of stories of
Yeah.
stuff like that. I'll go on for days, but anyway, like I said, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but that's the reality of what
Yeah,
we're.
yeah, it's a reality. Yeah, it is good you put it out there like that because I remember I was looking at a story on TV. It did hit the internet. I can't think of the kid's name. This happened maybe like 7 years ago, and the kid was born asthmatic. He wore like a backpack and stuff. He would go to school. I think he was maybe like in fifth or sixth grade or something like that. And the lady, she was black, and every time he came home, and she would ask her son, what's wrong and stuff. He didn't want to talk about it. It's going on for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I'm thinking to myself, me, I have a 13-year-old daughter, and I got a one on the way. And I'm thinking to myself, like, if one of my kids got a problem, I got to address that. It got to go to school, And, RIP to the young man, he took his own life. But, I'm thinking to myself, like, what's up with the teachers, you
Right,
know?
right,
And they seen all this is going on and not saying nothing. And no offense to the mother, but I feel like she should have put more effort into it to see what's going on. Because us as parents, we know what our child's favorite color. We know what they like, they don't like. We know what their breath smells in the morning. Like, go in there and brush your teeth. You know what I'm saying? We know all these little details about our kids and stuff. And you mean to tell me you don't know what's going on. So, because,
right.
us as parents, we're supposed to sense those things. and stuff. So when I
Yeah.
saw that, and I was like, wow, man, it's sad, how stuff like that happens, all the time and stuff,
Right.
because and that's why I say not all pastors, but there are those who just want your money, and I wish they would come in and just help people, you knock the doors, they didn't need anything and stuff. It's sad that when a family goes in there, they were like, well, before you leave, I'm gonna have Sister Martha, pass the collection plate. Come on through, Martha. And Johnny, I know you got it, brother. I heard you just got a raise and stuff. So it's sad though how society has been a money scheme, man.
Right.
Because we don't have those neighborhood counselors and stuff. We don't have the neighborhood where you have different races coming together and talk about what's going on in the communities and stuff. Now you got those who does stay in effect. A big shout to you all around the world, but be honest with you, Dad, they don't have it like that. That's
Right.
sad.
Well, it's sad, like this story you're talking about, where you got a kid in school, and unfortunately, they do uh, kill themselves like that. They commit suicide, and then it's one of those stories we see it often in the news where a lot of people stand around and say, "Oh, well, he did say this, he did say that. Well, I thought this was off. I thought," and everybody had an idea that something wasn't right, but nobody actually did something about it. Those are the true tragic stories that
Yeah,
when we kind of had a feeling, but nobody really did anything about it. Nobody said anything. Yeah, those are truly the sad ones. So, but hey, man, let,
yeah.
let me let me ask you, because I got to ask you, because you did it really good. Were you a pastor in
Oh
your
yeah.
life? You
I
did
think
that
I
pretty
appreciate
well.
it. Oh man, you know what, man? It's crazy, man. Like when I see certain little stuff, and if I see it so many times, I'm gonna try to like mimic it.
Well, you do it well.
So, oh man, yeah, come on through, brother Rashad. Yeah, it's a smart brother. Yeah, the light skinned bro with the straight hair. He knows a lot about R&B. But we're gonna have to give him guys real soon and stuff. So, oh man, you know, stuff. But it's crazy, because in a matter of fact, the connection with you and V, and big shouts to V's Vintage. You can follow her on Instagram. She's a publicist relations, and I remember she was on her way to Virginia Beach, and I remember that day. And I was going to Eddie's Chicken and stuff. I was getting something to eat, and something clicked in my head. I was like, "Let me call that she's okay." Because sometimes us as men, when we know somebody we could, they go somewhere, they traveling somewhere by themselves. He'd be
Right.
like, "Well, just shoot me a text, make sure you're good. I'll call." When it comes to a female, that's a whole different ball game. And then like how the connection you and V, as far as your story, how y'all. I mean, how did you meet her?
Right, right. So first of all, I'm going to tell you, this is one of those stories that true friendships are built upon, for real, right? What happened was, I work with Live Nation, and I work at different venues during concert season, as a seasonal employee with Live Nation. Simple as that. I was working in Richmond, and I was helping at the front doors. So people are coming in by by the hordes. They're all coming into the venue to see this concert. And as people are coming in, I keep noticing this lady who's standing by the box office. Like she's either waiting on somebody, or something's going on. I don't know what it is, but this person has been there for a while. Something just catches my eye. I'm checking her out in my peripheral, just seeing what happens, how it evolves, what happens. And just so much time went by that I asked her, what's going on? Do you need help with anything? How may I help you? All that, right? And it like her eyes immediately kind of like welted, and it was obvious that I stepped in something, didn't know what, but I stepped in something. And the short of it is that she was there to watch the show. But things didn't work out. Things weren't kind of going in her favor the way that she wanted. Things weren't evolving through the evening the way that she wanted. So I knew she wanted it. She needed help, and she was actually considering leaving the show.
Wow.
Again, long story short, I convinced her to stay because I told her, hey, look, you're here. You're here. You made it here. The show's right over there. Let me escort you. And I provided her a personal escort, and I took her to her seat, got her where she needed to go. She was so super thankful, and I was so appreciative for her thankfulness, and just again trying to get somebody to a better place. Right? That was such an opportunity that I took, that I recognized and took to help V get to a better place, and she was so appreciative about it. And guess what? She loved the show. She loved the show. She was able
Right.
to work herself all the way to the front, and she was by the stage. She was up there looking at. She was just loving it, man. So then, after the end of the show, we had an opportunity to talk, and so we spoke, about various things, about what she does, what I do, and all that. And one of the first things out of her mouth says, "We got to interview you." And you say interview to me, I'm like ding 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 ding. So I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about interviews. Anyway, so that's how her and I met, and it was such a great meeting, such a great conversation. She is such a kind-hearted, good-hearted, generous person. She is so good at what she does with connecting people and all that. And much love, much kudos goes out to V, because without V, she wouldn't have connected me with you. Without V, she wouldn't have connected me with other people that I've had the opportunity to connect with. So yeah, much love and kudos to V for sure, man.
Absolutely, yeah. Bigs up to her though, because I tell you, I told V, I said it's one thing that you was excited going to Richmond, Virginia, but really though, God put you in that position for a reason. To meet
Right,
him, and then to have him on here. Just it's crazy how life kind of goes the way you're excited about something, and you run to something that's even bigger than what you was actually focused on originally and stuff.
right.
And yeah, man, I
Yeah,
tell you, man,
me
that's blessed.
included. Me included. I would have never thought in a million years that I would get what I got out of that one meeting, out of that one show. Not the meeting of V, but just that one experience of, hey, I'm from Virginia Beach. I'm gonna go work in Richmond. And all of a sudden I came back and I was elated, man. I was like, wow, I met this lady and she is so cool. So yeah, I would have never thought that I would have got all of that from meeting one person in that moment in time. So yes, much love, man. Much love to thee.
Yeah, big shout to Miss V. I tell you, I mean, God bless her in a lot of ways, and I don't think some people realize that, when they, appreciate things and stuff, with some people to get blessings, it's like they hear it just goes way over their head and they still do whatever. And, when I hear her talk, I'm like, wow, she's truly blessed, what I'm saying? And stuff, and,
Yes.
you always got to take in that moment, right then and there.
Ab-
Um, so get back to when it comes to like it's crazy, man. Like you go so many different places, where like you go to the grocery store, you swipe your card, you pay for your gas, you swipe your card, you pay bills, swipe your card. And it's crazy. It's when you're making transactions. And I think some people don't think like, man, why is my get these weird calls. Why is my account just been like all the money been taken away? Like I
right.
remember when I worked at Walmart. This was years ago, and this one lady, she used her debit card and she was pumping gas, and then all of a sudden it took all her money out of her account and stuff. And I'm like, how the hell did they do all that? And it woke me up, and I said, you know what? If I'm gonna get some gas, trust and believe, I'll pay it with cash, man. I'm not gonna use my card. And since then, man, I just it stayed with me for like a lot of years.
Right, right. There are again, there are these people are relentless, man. They're so one thing about scammers and schemers. My props go to the scammers and the schemers. God's honest truth, because they are ingenious. They are smart. They know you sometimes better than you know you. And what I mean is they learn your habits. Well, we think we're not being observed. People learn your habits, right? They know. So they're paying attention. That's the whole moral of that story. They're paying attention to what it is that you're doing. So when you go, I mean, it used to be those skimmers, those things that we put our cards in at the gas pump,
Yeah.
or at the ATM, used to be those skimmers and they'd collect the
Hmm.
card numbers and stuff like that. I mean, people literally look over your shoulder, or as we call it, shoulder surfing.
Yeah.
Watching you type in your numbers and stuff. I ain't gonna lie because I do what I do. I'm an intelligence collector by trade, brother. So I'm collecting data. So when I'm close to you, I'm looking at your card number. I'm looking at how you hold your card. So I'm collecting your phone number. Whenever you type it in, I'm collecting your address. I'm collecting your name. I'm collecting your card number if I can. I'm just mentally taking note, not because I'm doing anything with it, but I'm honing my skills because that's what teaches me to be better. Because I figure if I can do it, then that's what other people are doing. Right. So
Right.
if we're not being careful with those very, very important pieces of information that we have in our hands when we're at the DMV, when we're at, I don't know, this is Social Security office, when we're at the police station, when we're at Wawa or Walmart or whatever store that
Yeah.
we're at, and we have that little piece of paper, whatever it is in our hand that has our personal information on there. And if you're just flashing it around and you don't care who's watching it, because a lot of people say, I don't care. Who am I? I'm not important. Well, I tell people you're gonna see how important you are when $10,000 is missing out of your bank account. You're gonna see how important you are when somebody else is running around with the name Davy Jones, because they took your identity. You're gonna see how important you are when somebody's stolen your identity. You're important. You're important.
Yeah.
Treat your data like it's important. Be mindful of who's around you and how you hold those important pieces of information that are in your hand. There's intelligence collectors out there. I'm going to tell you there are. I'm one of them, and I don't do anything with your data.
Yeah.
But you got people that go to the airport and got their little name tags. Their little name tag has their name, has their phone number, has their email address, has their address. You just gave yourself away. First of all, you just told people that you're not even at home, right? That's number one. You
Right.
just told people you're not at home. So all they're doing is calling their buddy and saying, hey, so and so is not at their home. That might be a good target, right? So it's the same thing with posting things on Facebook. People want to post all their vacation photos and say where they're at, and they want to check in everywhere they go and all that stuff, and they want to make their profiles public. There's intelligence collectors. I'm telling you, that's why you go home and there ain't nothing in your house because somebody took that. Because there's intelligence collectors passing that information. So I know that sounds all sci-fi, and it sounds very CIA. It sounds very movie-like. That movies are based on reality, man. That's what happens.
Yeah, because I remember I was watching this one show, it was short-lived. It was called CB. It was called CBS. It was called CSI Cyber,
Yes.
and now I played the character of a hacker and stuff like that. And looking at that, I'm like, wow, that pretty much ring alarm. People could get into all kinds of stuff. And I remember I used to tell my mother, I was like, if I'm with her or whatever or not, I'd be like, whatever you do not, put your phone if you get stuff out of your purse or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then it got to a point. I remember when she lost her phone. She was at a bar. One of her friends was having a birthday and stuff. And I told mother, I was like, you got a habit of leaving stuff, like you got to stop doing that. Then finally, my auntie, thank you. She gave her like a purse wallet where she put all her stuff right there. And it took all those years, and ever since then, she be like, yeah, you're right about that. I got to make sure I'm important. I say, yeah, mom, that's why Aunt Mary gave that to you.
Right, right. Yeah. It's
So,
people think that it's like I said, people think that it's very sci-fi that how they steal your data and stuff like that. It's not. It's
yeah,
not that difficult. There's that big physical scam, the real world scam where people meet you at the store. There's people walking around the parking lots. There's people in the store, and it's that whole, hey, I've got an emergency. Can I borrow your phone? And you give them their phone, and these people are fast and they're really good at what they do. And next thing you know, they take your Cash App, they took your Venmo. If you're a military, if you're a veteran, if you're in the service, they know that you've got a Navy Federal Credit Union account, so they go to your NFCU app. all that stuff. These people are quick, man, at what they do. They're very, very good. So you just can't let your guard down. You got to have constant vigilance where you're at, who's coming around you, what they're doing. Is somebody getting too close while you're handling your personal information, things like that. These guys are a mess, man. I tell you, they're relentless and they're remorseless. They're heartless. They don't care. They don't care. So be
Yeah,
careful. Careful what you
yeah,
do.
yeah. You're right about that, man. You definitely got to be careful about that. I like what V said. She said, "Who's watching there? Why are they watching us?" I'm like, yeah, that's a good question. That's an absolute question.
There you
You
go.
know, it's kind of like you see some of the movies or TV shows, and like when a person think they get ready to get away with something, and there be one person right behind them to stop them off their
Right,
track and
right,
everything. And
exactly, exactly.
I wish there was a thing where you could scan through. It would tell you the exact location where that person's at, and you could just shut them down right then and there. You know, and
I,
it's
I wish it was that easy. Unfortunately, it's not. So if you're not vigilant, if you're not being proactive and trying to stop the thing, then all you can be is reactive. Well, what that means then is you just got took because you can only
yeah,
react to something that's already happened. So the best thing to do is be in front of the problem, be reactive. I'm sorry, is be proactive and vigilant, and try to do your best to learn about red flags, learn about scams, and all of that. It's not difficult. Like I said, a scam is a scam is a scam. If something is sent to you or given to you, whether it's verbally, somebody vocalizes something to you and it just doesn't. It sounds too outrageous and stuff like that, or if somebody sends you something in some written communication, like an email, a text, where they call you and say, "Hey, you got to make this. You're about to go to jail if you don't pay this ticket." All that stuff is outrageous. So if you're not being vigilant, proactive, and shutting it down before it happens, then you're being reactive, and that only means you just got took. So that's not a good place to be. But keeps me in business. I'm not trying to say I'm trying to be in business all that bad, but I'm just saying at least they get a place to call, right?
yeah, absolutely. You're right about that. Before we wrap it up, what you got next coming up?
Oh man, I tell you what. Well, first of all, again, I want to give so much thanks because this is one of the things I had coming up next up until just
I
now.
appreciate
So
it.
this is definitely on my schedule. But I also got a couple other things that are really cool that are on my schedule and that are working their way into my life, which I am so grateful for. Number one, I started another book. Uh, it's gonna be dealing with a lot of the scams and stuff like that we're talking about, right? It's navigating the world of online scams, and I tend to write somewhat simplistically because I want people to learn. I'm not trying to be a technical person that makes people do research on what I wrote so they can understand what I wrote, right? So everything I write is kind of simplistically, basically written so anybody at any level can understand. Uh, but there are so many aspects about scams that I just feel compelled to try to teach people about that. So I just started my another book, and that's what it's called, Navigating the World of Online Scams. But I got this really cool project, again, thanks to Miss V, and she hooked me up with Dr. Monk, Larry Monk, and Miss Takia
Yeah,
Matina, right? So they're with the Fifth Sun Television Network, and I've managed to speak with them about a great opportunity, which provides me such a great platform to express myself and also to be able to teach people on a grand scale, right? So they invited me and they're allowing me to create 13 episodes on their network and to basically create an entire season of cyber teaching, cyber learning, so that other people can come and they can keep on hitting play, hitting play, hitting play to learn. How do you navigate a lot of these cyber issues, a lot of these cyber problems that are going on? So I am really looking forward to that. I'm trying to set aside a couple of dates so I can go down there and do some recording and all that. Really looking forward to that. I've got a couple of books that are in the future that I want to write about as well, because my first book is called The It's called "The Truth Behind Social Networking."
Oh wow, man.
What teens, young adults, and parents need to know. But I want to write a couple other books, kind of in that same light. It's "The Truth Behind Social Networking," but I deal with people like you, people that have some level of notoriety, some level of celebrity, that have found themselves in trouble as well. I've dealt with online influencers, with music producers, with models, and various people of celebrity that have found themselves in trouble. And again, because of those clients, I find myself learning, and I want to give back by creating a book, writing a book that is the truth about social networking related to celebrity types. But then again, we also have elderly folks that also find themselves in trouble online, and I want to write a book related to that subject as well. The truth behind social networking, what they need to know. So I've got a few projects in the works. I write a lot of tutorials and stuff like that. Anybody who's on here that writes me, emails me, calls me, texts me, please do. I'll be more than happy to give you tutorials about those cyber things that I've written about for free. I'm all about that. Like I said, I'm not going to be a millionaire doing what I'm doing, but
Yeah,
maybe I can be rich in knowing that I was able to get people to a better place, rich in knowing that I was able to give something back that people didn't have, that allowed them to achieve their own level of success. Right. So I'm more than willing to do that. Anybody who's listening that needs tutorials, you can communicate with me and ask me what type of tutorials I have. I'll be more than willing to share. So yeah, that's kind of like what I get into, right? I've always got an investigation going on. Somebody always calls me with some issue. So yeah, I've always got my my own work to do. But yeah,
yeah.
so that's what I got going on, man.
Yeah, you the man. I tell you, man. Because like when I went through my situation, June the 6th last year. Oh man, I tell you, man. I was messed up the whole summer, man, to that point. And I said, let me go ahead and create another one and stuff. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna get that old page back. I tell you, it's still monetizable. But I'm still getting emails,
Right,
from it every blue moon. But with that being said, thank you for coming on here because you're the first guest I had that breaks down these type of situations that people need to know and be aware of.
right,
And it's sad because a person could sit there and make like say like $100,000 a month. They done bought a home and everything, and out of nowhere, man, the whole account, gets hacked through, and you're like, wow, why did this happen? Where
right.
all this is coming from. You got people that does business in different countries and stuff. You got that going on, and just like man, just like it's like you gotta watch your back. You know, every day you wake up, even when you asleep. It's messed up.
That's the truth. That's exactly it, man. May I, if you don't mind too terribly, can I give some contact information for myself?
Yeah,
So,
sure. Go ahead.
all right, cool. So again, I'm Len Gonzales. I'm the owner of Ally Cyber Investigations LLC. My email address is contact@allycyberinvestigations.com. My phone number is 757-384-0862. You can call it, leave a message because I will not pick up the first time. So you can call, leave a message, or you can text that number. My Facebook page is facebook.com/your cyber ally. If you feel compelled, which I hope you feel compelled, let's pick up those numbers on that Facebook account. It's all free cyber tips and tricks and learning and helping you get to a better place. Online safety and security. That is my mission in life, to try to help people get to a better place. Public speaking, man, hey, help me get in front of people. Help me get people on a mass level to a better place. Let's talk about that on so public speaker. Yeah, man, I would love to be able to do that. Let's get to a better place.
Yeah, we
Rashad,
definitely need that.
really, man, thank you, brother. I appreciate what you do because you're entertaining is I don't know what, man, for real. So look, let me tell you something really quick, just to
Yeah, go
just,
ahead.
just a real quick story. So in order for me to prep for this, what we're doing right now, because I had already seen some live interviews, and I've paid attention now since I'm locked into you. I was looking at some live interviews, right? Or I was looking at some interviews that you have online on your channel.
Yeah.
So in order for me to prep for today, I was over there watching you do. Oh man, I forget which interview that I was watching, but I was checking them out, and I was like, yeah, I'm in tune. I'm good. We're good.
Yeah, man. I always bring the energy, man. I can't go
Yes,
out there with man like throwing a joke, make the viewers laugh and this and that. So me, man. It's like I gotta be me, man. But I always try to keep it professional as always and stuff.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. I believe in if you keep it real, like what you see right now. This is me. Period.
Yeah,
This is what you're going to see every day of my life. You're going to see me interacting with people as kind as I can be, as courteous as I can be, as professional and all that, And I always say, let's play before we have to work. And hopefully we get to play a lot before we actually have to do work. But if you can play while you're working, man, now you've achieved a whole different level of success, man. So yeah, let's play while we work, and we know we're in a good place.
yeah, absolutely, man. And thank you, man, for taking the time to coming on here and stuff because I get a chance to know, these type of situations and stuff. When you told me on the phone and everything, I said, "Wow, this guy opened my eyes up to certain stuff I didn't know about." And was aware and everything. And big shout out to Miss V for
Yes.
making this happen and stuff. Like, and I know I told us on the phone, I was like, God put you in a position for a reason, to get this interview jump in. And I appreciate all the viewers on here, for taking the time, to learn all the basics because we got a lot of bozos out there, trying to be some of who they ain't. Now, my thing, like, get to these hackers out here now, why would you want to sit here and make an identity and be like, for example, like a fat guy? You know what I'm saying? Knowing damn well that's not you. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy, man. Like, oh, like my name is Herb. I'm from Mississippi, and I'm 53. Come on, man. You know damn well that ain't you.
Rashad, you need to be on stage somewhere, man.
Yeah, man. I tell you, man. Believe it or not, man, I did local stand up comedy. That was like 15 years ago, but I never took the time to actually, be consistent. No, but I'm gonna work on something though real soon. So, and if
If-
I do, it's like my stand up cannot be PG. So yeah.
and if you need a public speaker with a cyber background at your upcoming family reunion, you just let me know. Let me
Oh,
know
you
when.
got it, brother. Yeah, man. We definitely collaborate, man, for sure, man. I'm all for it, man. Let's
Rashad,
go.
peace to you, man. I certainly appreciate you. Thank you, brother, for what you do. I appreciate you for having me on.
Absolutely, man. And so with that being said, thank you all for, leaving good comments on here. And on that note, we out here.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.